I've only done one life expectancy since I left that industry, because when I decided to leave that industry, I said, I'm never turning back. I'm not going to spend one more day of my life predicting people's death. I'm going to spend the balance of my lifetime helping people live healthy, happy, long lives. And everything that we're doing this morning, I love this because we haven't spent a dime other than on the cold plunge. And if you don't want to spring for a cold plunge, start taking cold showers.
Or if they live somewhere like Michigan where it's actually cold all the time, they can go jump in a lake, right?
Exactly. They can go jump in a lake. They can just go outside and expose their body to really cold air, but everybody can take a cold shower. Right? So the breath work, the sunlight, the cold showers, contacting the earth, that will cost you nothing. And then your food choices, stay away from the grains and all the refined sugars and cereals and crackers, white flour, and white bread, anything that comes in a package. You know, people say, well, what kind of diet should I be on? And I'm actually a big fan of the carnivore diet, huge fan of the carnivore diet.
Been on it for over a year now.
Have you?
Yes.
You probably feel amazing.
It.
Your blood works perfect. So, but I don't think everybody needs to be on a carnivore diet. I don't think everybody should be a vegan or a vegetarian. I don't think everybody needs to do keto. What I think you need to do is focus on whole foods. Get as close to the soil as possible. The further we get from the soil, the worse the food gets. See, the problem is not actually the food. It's what happens between where the food is harvested and how it makes it to the table. Right? So, I mean, the worst thing that ever happened to human beings was the agricultural revolution. So what happens when you put things into the body that it doesn't recognize? It calls the immune system. And when the immune system gets on site, a fight starts. And that fight, the result of that fight is inflammation. So like vaping and all of these things, these chemicals that we put into our body, right? You vape, all that gets into your lungs, your body calls the immune system. Now you have inflammation in your lungs. You know, you start eating seed oils and
let's talk about that real quick. What are seed oils and how can people avoid them?
So let me clear something up about seed oils, because I get beat up online about this a lot of times. People are like, well, seed oils aren't bad. You're right. The actual seed oil itself is not bad. It's industrial processed seed oils. Again, it's what we do to the seed oil. So if you took a canola oil and you sort of followed it through its life cycle, right? You take the canola, they put it in this high pressure press. When it comes out, it's gummy. So now I have to degum it. What do they use? Hexane. Hexane's a neurotoxin. So they use hexane to degum it. Now you have this degummed, hexane-laden oil, and they take that oil and they heat it to 400 plus degrees. That turns the oil rancid. So now it smells and it's rancid. So how do they get the smell out of it? They deodorize it with sodium hydroxide. That's a massive carcinogen. So now you've taken it, you've deodorized it with sodium hydroxide, you've degummed it with hexane, you've heated it to make it rancid, and then they bleach it to make it clear so it looks pretty on the shelf. They put it in a plastic bottle, and then they stick it on the shelf.
And then they say it's heart healthy.
It's absolutely disgusting.
What does that do once you consume that? Because if you consume it once or twice, it's not going to be that end of the world.
Right.
But if you're consuming this every day for a decade in all of your different cooking oils and all your packaged goods, what starts to happen to our bodies?
Massive amounts of inflammation. Massive amounts of inflammation. And remember, inflammation we know inflammation because our nose gets stuffy or our lungs get clogged, but it's the inflammation that you don't feel, right? We like to think that the skin is the largest organ in the body. I don't think it's anywhere close to the largest organ in the body, because the skin has a surface area of about half a tennis court, right? There's something in the body that has 6 times the surface area, 6 full tennis courts, and that's the lining of your blood vessels, the endothelial lining in your blood vessels. If you get inflammation in the lining of the blood vessel, you got 63,000 miles of blood vessel in your body. When you're putting pro-inflammatory foods like seed oils into your body, you're inflaming that lining. The lining in your gut, the lining in your blood vessels. So now nutrients can't leave and enter the tissue, and the waste can't leave the tissue and enter the bloodstream. And this is where chronic disease begins. And then people get all kinds of ailments that they chalk up to the consequence of aging that are not a consequence of aging at all, right? They're like, I'm supposed to have brain fog and weight gain and water retention and poor sleep, right? I'm supposed to have poor short-term recall. No, you're not. You're supposed to thrive, right? And so we just accept these consequences of aging. They're consequences of long-term inflammation.